Yes, welcome back. This is Villem for another tutorial. This tutorial again is going to be about bass, and it's based on the demo track number 3, which I made out of the sample pack samples. Just going to run through the track now. So it's kind of like an old Ed Rush synoptical feel on the bass. It's kind of sort of hollow and but subby. Okay, let's solo and have a look exactly what I've done. This is the bass sample as it is in the sample pack. And it's just a subline. What I've done is EQ again. Scooped out the low mids. Said it before and I say it again. I'm finding I'm doing this on most of my bass lines nowadays. It's just to let the kick and the snare through. There's actually about 20 dB on this one. This is pretty extreme. Rolling off the bottoms, boosting around 42 Hz for the bottom end. And just to make the bass line stand out in the mix, adding a top layer to it via a send, bus 18. Again, it's the send that I've used before, slightly modified, hasn't got as much saturation. Let's just run through and see exactly what each layer is doing. Okay, very simple EQ rolling off the bottoms. Some drastic EQing with the Pro Q, scooping out a lot of these kind of high harsh bits and boosting quite heavily right at the top, and that gives us like a fizz, but we're not really using that on this particular bass line, but it is there. And density is a distortion plugin, and it's by a company called Air Windows, and these are great little plugins. Bit of EQ just to tame what we've done before, an exciter. All these things are very subtle, they're just adding colour, I guess. Amp leveler. This is just an amp modulator. Bit of distortion. Compressor. Heavily compressed. Sidechain to the snare this time. No real technical reason, it just sounded good. It sounded better than sidechain to the kick. Okay, this is the EQ that's really shaping the whole sound, and then a bit of reverb on the end just to blend it all in. So this EQ, if we bypass it, okay, insane amounts of fizz, probably because of that other EQ and all the distortion, and because this bass line was created using an outboard bit of kit, the gaps have an actual bit of noise, so when you're compressing and EQing that hard it will just sound like a loads of fizz. But with this EQ it sounds like this, so it's just like a hollow kind of sound just sitting on top of the sub. We can just solo it out. So that's all it is, and it's just heavily EQ'd, all the bottoms, all the tops rolled off, and a spike down at this kind of low mid area, and here, sort of around here, you can get some interesting sort of bass line peaks, I guess. So that's the main subline covered. The other part of the bass line is the main subline chopped and edited slightly, and it's shifted down by 1 semitone just to give an extra bit of bass. And this one has a slightly different send on it. So it's a bit more distorted, a bit more aggressive, and all I've done is use a similar sort of EQ setting to the other bass line, slightly different, just played around until it sounded good, and a bit of tape saturation again from the Air Windows software, just to give it a bit more grit. So moving on, this is a bass sample again from the sample pack, taken from a Novation Supernova 2. Just made that by recording lots of hits of me jamming with the filter cut off on the actual synth. Just left it pretty clean, didn't need to do too much to it, but I just wanted to have the second part of the bass line as the part that you sort of hear the top end. So this layer here is just the sub, so all the tops are rolled off, and then the tops is just on this second half. It just sounded better in the whole flow of the tune. So that's about it. Just some more bass manipulation. Hopefully you guys got something out of that, and just leave some feedback in the comments. Thank you.